Good afternoon. It's bright and it's sunny, but it keeps on raining. Welcome to Dice and Bolts, the semi-regular series where I take a look through the various role-playing games on my shelves and give a basic rundown of the core mechanic or the core dice and bolts behind them. And today I am redoing, because I booked it up last night, the Wildsea RPG by Mythpoeia, www.myth.works. This is beautiful. It initially was done via Kickstarter. My friend Simat tipped me onto it, and it's like, yes, that's wonderful, largely because it was a Kickstarter that was 2 years ago, and it wasn't 5e, because that's my big bugbear at the moment. It's just recently come out in retail, so it's available from whichever retailer you choose to go to. It's about 50 quid and it is beautiful. It's a horizontal format, but it's not A4 horizontal, it's an odd size. It's very tactile. We've got a nice fabric strip around there. The art is gorgeous, the setting is fantastic. I will do a full review of this one because I believe it deserves it. But basically you're playing people who live and work on board ships that sail across a treetop sea. So it's post-apocalypse, and the apocalypse that's happened is that trees have grown massively and open land and rock is really quite rare, and you're kind of trying to make a living and so on. It's technically a fantasy setting, although it's not really high fantasy. There's no like directly overt magic, but there is like weird science and that sort of thing. And the core mechanic of the game is a pool of six-sided dice. What you do whenever you do anything is that you state your intent, and rather than in some games where you'd have stat plus skill, you have an edge, which is kind of the way that you're doing things. And if you're particularly good in a certain edge, so if you want to be overtly rough and tough, there's an edge called iron, or there's an edge called teeth if you're being a little bit more vicious about things. So say for example your character is on board is on a ship, and he's just looking to hack through some vines that have grown up overnight to keep the ship in place. And so okay, I'm going to hack through it with my Jagseri, which is like a great big, like a jawbone of one of the monsters that roam around under the seas, which are used as weapons and tools. I'm going to hack through them. I'm going to be like violent and forceful, so I'm going to use my teeth edge. That gives you a dice. I then have skills in break. Okay, so there's a number of skills, about 15 different skills rated from 1 to 3, and whichever skill or thing is kind of applicable would give you that number of dots. So for example, if I have 3 dots in break, that would give me 3 additional dice. The GM can then modify that and say, okay, well, you've got what's called cut, which is where after you've rolled, you remove the appropriate number of dice, but you remove them from the top down. Okay, so if you've got cut 1, then it's a little bit more difficult than normal. Cut 2 is quite severe, especially because pools of above 4 dice are quite hard. Cut 3 is terrifying, and cut 4 technically can happen, but of course unless you've got something, oh sorry, I've got something in my ear, unless you've got something that gives you that extra dice above the 4 that you normally top out at, it's pretty much impossible. Also, things may have a low impact or higher impact than normal. That affects the number of boxes in progress tracks that you mark. So normally, each roll to do this might mark 2 progress, because you're using quite a good tool to do it. But you could say, well, these are iron root vines, so that reduces the impact. So you're only going to be clearing 1 box per success rather than 2 boxes. You then roll your pool of dice. Say we're doing this with no cuts, just to first, and you'll look for the highest dice, and you're also looking for doubles. Okay, if your highest dice is a 6, then you've done what you wanted with no complications. It's called a triumph. That's it. Successful. So we've got a pair of 6s, a 5 and a 4. which is nice. If you get doubles, you get a twist, which is a additional narrative bonus. That could be increasing the impact. So whereas this action may be a 4-space track, and normally one action would be clearing 2 boxes, you could say, actually, 2 6s, you've done really well. You've managed to clear all those boxes, you've managed to free the ship from the iron root vines. Or you could say, okay, well, you do it and you avoid damaging something. You could do it quietly and not alert the local predators to your presence. That sort of thing, little positive narrative boost. If your highest dice is a 4 or 5, so say we cut those 2 there, then you've got a complication. It's a succeed at a cost. It's that PBTA 7 to 9 result. It's that you're going to have done what you wanted, but you're going to have been particularly loud. You're going to have been a little bit clumsy. You might, if it's a combat role that you're doing, either as an action or reaction, you may take a bit of damage. You could mark a box off the track that indicates the tool that you're using to cut through the vines. That sort of thing. And if you get a 1, 2 or 3 as your highest dice, that's a severe problem. That's what's called a calamity, which is where not only do you not, well, generally speaking, you do not achieve what you wanted to, but there's also going to be a complication against you. A calamity with the twist is possible. A complication with the twist is possible. Nice and simple. It's a very elegant system. One of the things I like about the game, I know this is more of a reviews rather than a dice and bolts one, is there's a nice page on death and character dying. So that you character only dies when you as a player feel that it's right, which I think gives a massive amount of narrative control. I've just realised I'm looking halfway between the two here. It gives a massive amount of narrative control to players for it, but I'll do a full review on that one. So, pool of 6-sided dice, the appropriate edge for how you're doing what you're doing, up to 3 dice for your skill in what you're doing. Oh, there's the other thing. If you are doing like social, there's no real social skills. That is replaced by languages. So your ability to converse with somebody in their native language is more important than a diplomacy or an etiquette or a lie skill, which I think is great. It also means that languages are something other than just a tick box exercise. Oh yeah, I speak Draconic, fine, fantastic. You know, if you can speak the language of the Ectu, which are the humanoid walking cacti that are a player character race, fantastic. But if you can speak their language, when you're trying to negotiate for supplies with an all Ectu trading post, you're more likely to have a chance of getting what you want if you can parlay appropriately. Yeah, so pool of dice, cut for difficulty, look for the highest dice, 6 for a success, 4 or 5 for a yeah but, and 1, 2, 3 as the highest result. Then you inch dick. Roll well, and we'll see you soon.